Oh, thank you. Good to
You
hear.
ready, John?
Yes.
Yes.
What's ready, Steve?
Sorry, just the aircon. Just hit the red button. Red button. There should be a. It should go off. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Johnny, ready when you are.
Okay. Jon Favreau, could you please elaborate on the amazing technology that made The Lion King possible and which has advanced since you did The Jungle Book?
Yes, I learned a lot on Jungle Book. It was my first time working with so many animated characters, and we were able to get a lot of lifelike rendering to match in with the one live action character. And so I gathered some skill in working with these technologies and these artists. But then virtual reality came into the consumer space about the time that Jungle Book was ending, and we started to figure out that we could use virtual reality as a way to help us as filmmakers by creating a platform that allowed us to put cameras in as though we were making a live action film. So we would take our digital environment and be able to actually enter it with a film crew. That was the big breakthrough. And of course, there were a lot of innovations along the way with first simulations and water simulations and particle sims, things that don't sound so interesting, but the effect of having all these innovations was a much more lifelike depiction of the animals.
I think it's a very cool idea to use legendary DPs
Mm-hmm.
on these movies, just like Roger
Yes.
Deakins has worked on certain things. But I mean,
Yes.
Caleb Deschanel surely
Yes.
is one of the great artists of painting with shadow and light.
Yes, and for a story like this, we really needed somebody of his level of artistry because because it's so much more photoreal than the cartoon that people have grown up with, that showing some of the more intense scenes, like I don't want to spoil anything in the plot, but there's a lot of intensity when it comes to the story of Mufasa and what happens to him, and we wanted to make sure that even though we weren't showing any of the graphic violence or any of the sad sequences that showed the aftermath of what happens during the stampede, we using Caleb Deschanel's framing, composition, lighting, and Hans Zimmer's music, you could create a mood without showing anything graphically. So we tried to build a tool set that somebody like Caleb Deschanel, who had no experience in visual effects, could step into and actually do probably the most advanced visual effects film that's been done to this point.
They often say that when it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes.
And on a movie like this,
Yes.
you need to secure certain assets.
Yes.
And in regard to some of the cast which you managed to secure, not to mention Hans Zimmer, please elaborate on the challenges of updating and securing the original assets.
Well, we knew we were going to use a lot from the original. The basic structure of the story was going to remain the same. There are certain sequences that we thought would be best to stick as close to a shot-for-shot remake as possible, like the Circle of Life and the Stampede sequence. But beyond that, we wanted to carry over the legacy of the original while departing pretty dramatically from the actual dialogue or story or adding or changing scenes. James Earl Jones, we felt, was an element that would help carry forth the legacy for the beginning of the movie. And of course, Hans Zimmer, as you mentioned, for the music. But beyond that, there was an opportunity to bring in a whole new cast that could reinterpret the songs and the roles, and of course, this new technology to help present it as though it were a different medium.
My last question regards the amazing upcoming streaming service, Disney Plus.
Yes.
And we are born on 1966,
Yes.
both of us.
Yes,
So Star
yes.
Wars for us is
Yes.
beyond a religious experience. and none of us Europeans have seen any footage of The Mandalorian
Yes.
yet. So please.
Well, nobody has. I mean, we haven't shown anything really officially. We showed some stuff at Celebration, and some of it is on the internet. But officially, we haven't released anything yet. But I've been working on it. We finished the first season, and it is a real throwback to, I think, what we grew up with. So there's an opportunity, again, kind of like this, where you're introducing a whole new generation of people that might not have any experience with Star Wars, but for people who grew up with it. I really try to reference a lot of the same cinematic tropes that George Lucas drew upon so heavily from the original film, like the old Western, the Sergio Leone Westerns, Kurosawa films, the old samurai sagas. So that serialized adventure format and the lone gunfighter or the lone adventurer going through a very harsh world was something that I was really drawn to in the original Star Wars series, and something that I wanted to carry forth. And the opportunity to show the world after Return of the Jedi, after the Empire had fallen, and show what it's like with the chaos taking over, especially in the Outer Rim, and showing how these tough figures have to make their way through this world and help bring civilization back to an uncivilized galaxy was an exciting prospect for me.
True pleasure.
Okay. Great talking to you.
I'm a screenwriter, so